Hello and welcome to my Willow Heart workshop. My name's Jackie and we're going to have some fun together, I hope. So, before we get going, I thought I'd start off with some tools. I've got a thermos flask I like to work with, but you can equally have a can of old peach can, whatever you want. So we need that shape to work around. So I'm just going to put that down. A pair of secateurs or some wire cutters, whatever you have to hand to cut the willow. Something pointy is quite handy to have, so I've got a bradawl, but things like knitting needles and such like are useful as well. If you haven't got one, don't worry, we'll manage without. It's just handy to have one if we need it. If you're working with buff willow, then remember to keep your willow under the damp towels while you're working. And it can be quite useful to have something like a bottle water spray, which I happen to have because I'm in a really hot house today. That's why I'm sitting in my summer dress. And if you haven't got anything like that to hand, you can always swirl your willow under a tap. And always remember to keep the willow that you're not working with in your damp towels. Brown willow, you won't have that problem. So I'm just going to gather my bits of willow together. So to start off with, we're going to go to our willow and we're going to get ourselves a thick piece of willow. So I've got a plastic bag that I keep my willow in for demonstrations because it's a lot easier than me trying to work with wet towels. So I'm just taking a piece out. It needs to be quite long, and I'm just going to put that to one side. So there we are. So first thing to do, now this is something that you learn to do and you might fail at the first attempt, but that's okay. We've got plenty of willow to experiment with and it's gone over. So I'm going to get my thermos flask or your tin if you've got one, and I'm going to use it to bend my willow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around along with my hands first, because we're going to try and get ourselves a nice round shape. Let's just put that to one side. So if you can see, I'm holding it in my hands, and willow naturally, if you twiddle it, well, you'll find it bends more one way than the other. So when we're making round shapes, it's good to go with the bend. So if you use your hands, because I'm used to using my fingers, and you might see me start using fingers to smooth and bend, but that can be really tiring if you're not used to it. My hands are quite used to doing lots of things, so to protect your fingers, try and use your hands when you're bending. So if you just go along and gently squeeze along. Now what you're doing is you're breaking down the fibres in the willow, and you're just helping to loosen them up. So once you've done that, and it's useful particularly with thick pieces or anything that you want to keep a nice curved round shape, to do this. It doesn't matter so much if you're just pulling and bending, but when you want to keep a nice smooth shape, this is always useful to do. So I'm going to put my camera on, so I'm just going to pause the film. So I'm using my camera as well as my phone to record this, so that you can see my hands down closer down. Okay, we've got our shape. Now I'm going to use my thermos flask, which I'm going to hold between my legs. You can do it on the table as well with your round can, so I'll show you both methods. So with my legs, I'm just going to bring the camera, sounds terrible, but I'm going to bring it up close so you can see a bit better, hopefully. It's quite awkward where I am, and I'm just going to, if you can see, hopefully, I'm just going to take the willow and I'm going to hold it in one side, hold the thick end towards the thermos flask, and then just gently wind it around the thermos flask, just to help bend it. This isn't going to stay in this shape. The whole point of it is to try and make it bendy. Now this one is already kinked, so I'm going to be doing it with some more. So my phone camera just decided to switch off, so hopefully you were able to see the shape I was doing with the can, but just in case, I'm just going to remind you. And it was just gradually going round and using the can to make the bend as you go. And you might find it easier to do it on the table or to do it up high. So just move it round because it's a smaller shape. And keep on going until you've given it a bit of a bend. Now, if this has gone all kinked, just go and grab yourself another piece and do the same again. Okay. So you should have a large round shape like this. So I'm just going to put the cans to one side, and I'm going to take one and I'm going to make the half side of a heart. Now don't worry about the size at the moment, this is about roughly getting this size right. So we're going to go down, and I'm kinking a little bit here, so if you can see, to make the bottom kink. Then I'm going to take the other side, I just take it down gently, and I'm going to gently pull it round and down through the heart. Now if it kinks, then start again, it's okay. This it's going to take, it might take you a while, and it doesn't always work, so just keep on doing it, that's okay. So now I'm going to even up the other side, so they're roughly the same size heart, same size halves of heart on each side. Now this is a basic heart shape, and you could do, when we've done this one, you could just keep it as it is, but we're going to use it to make some other heart shapes. So I'm going to make mine, and I'll keep on pulling them down. Now if you can see, if that was that shape, when we finish you could leave that long piece on and actually keep it as a separate heart, but I digress. So I've gone down to that far, and then if you can see, I've got one round one side and one round the other side. Now I'm going to take that piece there, and I'm going to get one of the cable ties in the picture just to make it easier for you. And I'm going to, this is fiddly with hands, and sometimes putting it on table is easier if you're not used to doing this, but if you're finding it difficult, put it on your lap or on the table and hold it down with one hand while you do it, so it doesn't unpin. And if it does, just redo it again. Take your piece of cable tie, and then hopefully you can see, I'm just going to hook it through, hold it in place while I'm doing the next bit. Now I don't usually use a cable tie because I can do it with just my hands, but when you're starting out it's really awkward. So if you can see, there's the thin piece down one side and the thick piece down the other, and a cable tie just holding it in place while we're working. So now I've done that, I'm going to hold that thick piece to the point of the heart, and I'm going to take the thin piece through to the back, round the middle, back round again, and I'm going to take it a couple of twists down to the bottom. Don't overdo it, you only need, can you see, I'll try and hold it up close, you only need one or two, but that will just make it a nice twist and hold it in place when we get to where we're going. Now if you are finding it awkward, you can also get your other cable tie and just pin it to the bottom and hold that in place. I'm not sure where mine is, so, and I don't need it anyway. But if you're finding it awkward to let go and it ping out, I mean, it doesn't matter, that's fine. It'll be fine like that until we move on to the next stage. But if you find it easier, you can use your another cable tie just to hold it in place. So I'm just going to leave mine like that because I'm quite happy not doing that. Okay, so I've now twiddled with my heart shape, and I've got the thicker piece in the front of my heart and the thinner piece behind, and that's helping to hold it in place while I'm working. My cable tie is just stopping it from unpinging at the moment. So I'm taking another piece of willow, and I'm just going to take the tip end of the willow to connect and join up the bottom piece and keep it in place. Remember, when you're working with buff willow, if it's out and getting squeaky, it means it's drying out, so it needs some freshening with either a water spray or sticking underneath some water, or choose another piece and put that piece back in under the damp towel. So I'm taking the tip, and now I'm holding that in place. I'm using the little piece here, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bend with my fingers just to make it easier to go around the shape. Now if it snaps, that means it's too dry, so you need another piece. So I'm just going to take that piece and I'm going to poke it down through one side, holding that as I go. So I'm holding one in one hand and I'm going to go down through the other side, and I'm just going to take it down through as close as I can to the pointy end, and then I'm going to take it up through the other side so it's covering over like that. So I've taken one up through, over the middle, and then back down through. So it's a bit like threading and making a stitch. So I'm pulling that down as tight as I can, and then I'm going to take that small thin end and I'm going to be wrapping it round the middle and back again. It's just squeaking already because buff, as I say, dries out, and I've got a very hot house at the moment because my partner prefers it to be warm. So gone through. Now I'm going to hold that small piece down with my fingers while I'm holding the rest of it. Okay, if it's fiddly, undo it and just give yourself a slightly longer piece to work with, and then hold it down. It'll be easier for you to hold with your fingers. Okay, so I'm just going to take the other hand and I'm going to thread it from one side to the other side, that through the one side and then back through the middle and out the other side. So it's making a shape like this, and this is what we're going to be starting to do, is what's called a round and weave. So once you've done that, you take it back through. It's a bit like threading in and out. So you're threading down one side, and I'm just pulling it along. Can you see? And then I'm going to take it down through one of the other gaps in the other side, so it's out again. Now mine's already starting to hold together just by doing that. You might find you still need to hold the ends at the bottom for a little while, but mine's just starting to stay in place already. So I've gone through, and I'm just, each time I'm doing it, I'm just making sure that it's close to the edge of the heart. So I've got that far so far. Now if you want to stop at any time and pause it to catch up and think about it, of course do that and then carry on. But I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to do some more laps so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going around the heart, and that one's bent a little bit, so I'm just going to use my fingers to give it a bit of a twiddle, and then I'm going to take it down through one space and back out another space. And then I'm going to carry on working around the heart. So I'm going to take it through a different gap. The idea as you go is that you're gradually filling in all the big gap spaces. Now that's quite thick, so I'm just going to leave that hanging out. And then I'm going to start with another one. So again, take another one. And if it isn't, then as we really want to try and keep some curves as we're going, either use your hands or use one of the tins just to help you shape it a little bit. Now I find it just as easy to do it this way, but you might not, and it might be too tough on your hands. So if you do find it difficult, then use the round tin or a thermos flask or something just to give it and help break down the fibres a bit. So again, I'm going to start with a thin end, and I'm going to go choose somewhere else, and I'm going to go down. For example, I could start at the top end and work, instead of going round it, I'm just going to go through the gap there, over through that gap there, and then up through another gap. So I've got a piece going that way. You see, I'm already starting to fill it in. So where you've got your thin ends, it's nice when you get to a nice point that looks good to bend it round and take it back through. And then keep on filling in the gaps as you go. Now I'm going to speed up. Don't worry about leaving thick bits hanging out if they're too thick. You can leave them out for a while and then just add in another one. Or if it's quite thin like this one, you can go round, take the shape and keep on going through. All the while, you want to try and keep your shape of your heart on the outside as you're going. So just keep on twiddling and twiddling as you go. But I'm just going to speed up and do some more. And you can see what I'm doing. So get yourself a little bit further on, and then we'll start again, and we'll carry on. Okay, so I'm just going to stop a minute and show you where I'm going to. If you can see, I'm trying to keep curving shapes as I go around. Now I'm just getting to the stage where this is holding together quite nicely on its own, so I can take out the cable tie. So if you're not used to cable ties, if you pull it round so you can see the pop a bit, just hold it down with one hand, one finger, and use the other side to gradually open it up, so it will just start sliding. Well, obviously a lot of cable ties don't allow you to do this, but these ones are great because you can reuse them. There you are. So I'm starting to get there with my heart. So just carry on filling in, and you can have it as loosely. You could stay here if you like it here and just add in a couple more pieces, which I'll show you. Or if you want to, you can just carry on filling in. So I'm just going to pause a sec and then fill in a little bit more, and then show you where we're going with that. Oh, just before I do that, I just thought I'd mention that you might find pieces that have got extra bits like this in your willow. You can, if you want, just weave the two pieces as one and then they'll spring out, or you can trim them off. It's up to you. As you can see with this one, you might have seen that I've just pulled out the shape a bit more to exaggerate it. So you can just keep on twiddling as you go. Working with, this is often a description of things like random weave is often used. There's loads of different types of description for this style of weaving. But it is all about getting the balance right so it looks even and not all overworked in one area and not another. So if you look at this one, I've still got some gaps. So you can instantly see at the top, I need to fill in over there, a little bit more here, and then down here there's a section that looks a bit out of place. It's all about looking to the eye and what feels comfortable for you. With random weave there is no exact science, it's all about playing with balance and shape and form and what works for you. I would keep on twiddling, and I'm just going to add in a couple more bits to that balance, and I quite like them just very simply made like this. But if you want to, you can carry on and make yourself, there should be enough material to make another one like this, or if you want to, you can fill it in some more and carry on making it denser and denser as you go, so it's more filled in. So the choice is yours. I'm just going to add in a couple more bits to show you, and then I'm going to add in and make it a bit more denser so you can see my piece at the end. Right, now it's time to stop and think about what you're going to do. Now I know it's really tempting to carry on weaving, but if you have another project to do, stop now, because otherwise you'll use up all your materials just using this, doing this heart. If you have done your other projects and you don't want to make any more, then you can carry on weaving with this heart and just fill it in more, or make another one. Now I tend to be this kind of person that goes more into weaving because random weaving is my favourite thing. So I've gone a little bit more involved in this one, and so mine's a little bit more filled in than the time before when I stopped. I wouldn't go a lot more over the top with that, but I would do some fun things like add in some bling. Anything from feathers and seed cases to little jewels and crystals, little ornaments that you have, or some really pretty lights or some flowers, or just keep it really simple. The choice is yours. I like to add things like ribbons and coloured cords and hanging them up, but again, we all have our own interests, so it would be really lovely when you finish if you want to send me some photographs. I love seeing what people make, and I hope you're having fun making. It's been a pleasure meeting with you, and I hope you've enjoyed it.